Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A year ago. Oh. Yeah, I could have got 2 years.
Okay, we'll call the order at 6 o'clock. We have a couple additions to the agenda, Mr. Neal.
Yeah, 9.08, Mr. Hutton, a request for letter of support. And that was passed out to you, and we also have a closed session item, personnel item.
Motion to adopt the agenda as amended. Council Warwick, all in favor? Carried. No delegations tonight. No presentations. Seeing none. Adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting, March 12th, 2024. Councilor Kroll. All in favor? Carried. Minutes of the information session, March 27th, 2024. Councilor Murphy. That's the next one. Good. All in favor? Carried. Minutes of special meeting of council, March 27th, Councilor Thorough. All in favor? Carried. Finance reports. Accounts payable.
Mr.
Mayor, I do have
Councilor Warwick.
one question on 281, the Dirks and 5-star. I'm just curious about that one.
I'll defer to the fire chief as he knows the most about that, so.
We were catching up on hallware and uniforms with the firefighters. We haven't done for a few years, so basically they get a full set of hallware for a uniform. Cleared their probation in 1 year, but we don't tend to order it every now and again or every year. So we did a major sizing in January and just catching everybody up. Got some events planned for later this year that we want to make sure everybody's got a uniform for.
I guess my question is, I was just curious to see it on our accounts receivable, but do we not give funds? Do we not provide, a certain amount of funding for the fire department so that if they need to access those kind of,
Part of our budget.
Yeah, and this is out of the goods budget of the fire department.
so this is,
Correct, Mr. Neal?
Yeah,
And that's what we've always had it under, is under the goods part of the fire budget for at least the last 20 years is where it's been under.
okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Thorough.
Yeah, I got a question about the contracted snow removal. Is that being charged back to the property owner
Yes.
after?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, to our taxes probably.
well, it's put on, if they're invoiced for it.
Yeah,
If they don't pay it, it will go on, their taxes.
oh, okay.
Councilor Olson.
One question, 043055, the peace officer authorization, was that, I saw the filing for the town to employ a peace officer.
Yes,
I know we've had the discussion before. I had concerns about the actual peace officer designation and what it means for the municipality and the pretty significant extra expenses. I know we do have the need for a part-time bylaw enforcement. I was under the assumption that we weren't moving toward the peace officer role.
well, I thought we were from day one with the, paying for the piece.
Yeah, and I know we had the discussion when the training was there, and that.
But I don't
think there was
know-
a need.
I don't know, Councilor Olson, in terms of significant costs, that's.
Well, there's the shotgun recertification annually, there's, that we have to be tied into, correct me if I'm wrong, you're Tracy for sure too. Like
I'm a
dispatch,
contracted service, so some of those costs are gonna be taken on by my sole proprietorship. It's not entirely on the town of Hannah, and that is part of the contract.
so do we add, marked vehicle and I
We're,
guess we already have,
we're looking when the, once we receive the authorization to employ peace officer, we're looking at converting one of our public works fleet into a peace officer DACO vehicle.
okay, so that won't change the cost of the town, it's just the existing contract costs?
Yeah,
Okay, so all the gear and everything you'll require is,
there will be some costs, but within the goods budget in bylaw, so
okay,
it's not extensive, so.
It's not what you would see in other locations.
okay,
That's something that happens over time and is built upon, and it is also dependent on mandated duties, which is also something that's in control of group here.
yeah, I was under the impression that's what it would potentially grow into, over time. Anyways, was that contracted position, part-time by law enforcement into a peace officer? Just like a, prime example of a fire chief role has grown exponentially over many years, just the requirements there. I assumed it would be a slower growth instead of,
Training expires, which means the cost to the town that was spent on my community peace officer training would expire, which means that's a loss of a significant amount of money. So there is a timeline involved with the training and certification. And as long as that is kept up and maintained, there won't be any additional large sum training costs.
okay,
We're trying to, I guess, Counselor Olson, we're trying to do it as efficient and cost effective as we can. Moving forward and working within the existing budget, so.
yeah, that's good.
I have kept things very basic and I guess, for lack of a better word, entry level. So you're not gonna see me in a top level course, because that would cost us a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
And there are ways to do this without taking on all of the very extensive costs that you would see at other locations that have been functioning for a significant period of time.
Okay, that's fair.
Any others? None? Going once? Okay, motion the council accepts accounts payable listings from general account for information. Check number 43040043 to 43063, direct deposit 002869 to 002944. Electronic funds batch number 848 and 851. Motion. Council Olson, all in favor? Carried. Statement of revenue. Any questions? Seeing none. Council accept the statement of revenue and expense report for March 2024 for information. Councilor Warwick. All in favor? Carried. Budget overview, March 2024. Seeing no questions, motion to accept budget overview of March 2024 for information.
Well, I guess maybe before I've got a note here, I was trying to find it, if it's in, another reports are in here, but there was skate park stuff ordered,
Yes,
is that in here?
I think you probably maybe saw it in the download report,
Okay,
but we haven't, it's just in the next batch to pay the deposit.
Okay. Yep.
So, yeah, it's moving forward.
is that group of the school involved with?
Yeah.
Idea, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Is repaving part of that?
So that is a discussion I'm gonna have with Brooks Asphalt, whether they would, we want to put a new layer of asphalt on the existing pad. I'm hoping that can work with Brooks Asphalt to get it at a low cost or as a donation. So.
Yep.
We wanna do that, definitely.
Yeah, well, and it's good timing. They're gonna be
Yeah,
doing some work.
yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, you still
Yes,
want
I
to
can
make
still
the
make that.
motion? Okay, motion by Council Olson, Council accept budget overview for 2024 for information and favor. Carried. Capital budget,
So the only thing with the capital budget, I know this is only till the end of March, just for council's info, so we have ordered a new loader, so we just purchased it, today, made the decision and purchased a new loader. And the other thing that we just finished talking about that doesn't show here is the skateboard upgrades. It does say the equipment's ordered, but, the next batch of payables will have the,
Council Bowden,
Is that loader in addition to one here, or is that to replace the other one? To replace the other one, correct?
well, it's gonna replace the
Oh,
2007 loader, I believe.
And I also had a question, under the fire department, is there a duplication in that with the portable radio replacement?
No, we've just had it, we've had it in the budget before and we carried forward, we carried forward it from 2022, so we didn't buy any portable radios, so,
We've,
So it still hasn't been.
right, yeah.
we've been holding off on it until we order our breathing packs. Cause the radios have to be tied to the breathing packs. We wanna make sure when we decide on the breathing packs and they're ordered, then we'll order the radio to make sure they match, so they actually can talk to each other. So as desperately as I need portables, we're just holding off a few more months yet.
okay, Council accepts the first capital budget update, March 2024 for information. Council Bowden, all in favor? Carried. Senior Administrative Officials Report.
So, Mr. Mayor, there's no written report for myself. I was away on vacation, last week and from the council info meeting we had, not much to add to my report, just an update, the downtown project. So we have, MP's been working with Brooks to get the bonding certificates, insurance certificates, all the necessary paperwork, contracts signed. I'm waiting to have a project startup meeting, hoping it's soon that we can then get some timelines on how they're gonna move forward, when it's gonna move forward, but I don't have any info on that as we speak. Kevin's report, just, I think council's all aware, we're out of ice season and now into outdoor season, so we have a little bit of prep work to do on the arena surface for lacrosse, and they start next Tuesday in the arena. We've got a contract for the arena to be painted, the interior of the ice surface part to be painted in May, so they've been removing advertising signs and the sound baffles, and I know the sound baffles have been interesting because I think they've been up for 30 years. So there's a lot of dust in them as they're
Interesting,
coming on.
that's an interesting term.
So, again, parks, just waiting, to get out. I know, some of our, teams, I know our ball teams are practicing already in the curling rink, and I'm itching to go. So I'm hoping, here in the next week or so, the Diamonds will be, good enough to go out and they'll play out there. They're just a little soft at the moment, but, had a meeting with Minor Ball, one of their subcommittee members this afternoon. They're looking to do some work on, batting cage. They want to replace the netting and they're looking at some additional storage. And then, they have been talking about doing a major upgrade to the triplex diamonds. So I've worked with them again and said we need to get a plan together that Minor Ball can then apply for some grants. Because I said if we're gonna do it, we need to do it right, so might as well apply for some grants. But in the interim, Their focus this year is on revamping the batting cages, some storage, and, working with us on some leveling of the outfield with sand as it. So I think we can get some sand brought in and just be a matter of going out and leveling it, letting the grass grow through it and, going from there. So it was a good meeting this afternoon with them. Haven't done a ton on the swimming pool yet, probably be starting that here in the next few weeks, getting it prepped. But other than that, the major one, the kitchen, just so you're aware, the community kitchen project has not gone according to plan. So, we thought it would be up and done a week ago. Some parts haven't arrived yet, so the hood for the grill hasn't arrived and the makeup air unit and the air handling exhaust, so it is impacting. Meyer Hockey has an event in there on Wednesday night. They are aware they've adjusted their menu and are gonna serve a different meal. We've comped their use because the kitchen wasn't ready. And they were happy with that, so we've got I think the next thing we booked in there with the kitchen would be stagehand, so we're working on it. And I know we've got some bugs we need to work out with it once we get it in place. I know one of our local contractors isn't happy with a few things, so we want to get it in and get it set up and running, and then we can tweak from there, whether it's a different tap for the water with a spray feature. It's all stainless steel portable tables that will be in there. And so whether we have to get some additional locking wheels, and then I think the other thing we're gonna have to do some tweaking on is just storage. So covered storage. So we just want to get it up and running, and then we know there'll be some tweaking as people use it and we move forward with it, so.
Does that mean there's additional costs or that's still within the?
Well, there may be some additional costs, Councillor Bowden, but they would be minor and my approach to the project has been that, we've got all new equipment for zero cost to us, so if we have to pick up a little bit of the electrical hookups, some of the other tweaking, it's still got a valuable investment, so.
And do you want to share where the money came from? I know, but.
Well, the money came through, Prairie Scan, through Harvest Sky, surplus money that they had left over from some of their, initial projects, so. We wanted to allocate and use as much of the funds as we could be, rather than sending them back, so. So I think that's it on Kevin's report. Michelle's, I just want people to be, if they want to mark in their calendars, Volunteer Appreciation Night is April 18th. We're doing it a little bit different. We're trying something different. So typically it's been at the community center. It's going to be in the provincial building this year. And I think it's going to be similar to last year when they've invited community groups to come and speak about their organization, what their organization does, whether their organization needs volunteers and stuff like that. So it is that day that I wanted you to remember if you could. The other thing that's not in Michelle's report, and it's not necessarily ours, and I think council is aware, but AHS has their engagement session on Thursday in the community center, I believe from 3 to 5.
Yes.
So if you haven't registered, and you can make it, please register, and more people can get out, the better, so. But other than that, I think, I don't know much. I didn't get a chance to talk to Michelle, but I know, as she said in her report, the Drive Happiness volunteer coordinator was out last week. Toured around the community, met partners at Links in the library, and they stopped at several local coffee groups to spread the word about Drive Happiness, looking for drivers and riders, so.
Mr. Neal, I just wanted to make reference to that APCO Community Energy Fund of
Okay, yeah.
$15,000. You might wanna Just like if the baseball diamonds, if they're looking at something, that might be a perfect fit for that. Just depending on.
Yeah, I didn't look at the criteria. I think the ATCO one had to do with energy conservation.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. It's the definitive detail in it. I
Okay.
mean, they talk about the ATCO gas service area and there's some defining.
So just for clarification, we are not in the ATCO gas service area.
We're
We
the
are
ATCO.
served by Alta Gas,
So,
or
what-
Apex, I guess they're called now.
so are we in the ATCO electric service?
We're in
area?
ATCO Electric
So that
District,
is
but,
also a
but
qualifier.
not the ATCO gas.
Yeah, so so either one of those are also, each of those are qualifiers, so
Okay,
I just think if that's.
yeah, no, I
there's an
haven't had a chance to,
opportunity To use those funds.
I haven't had a chance to look at that.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Council Murphy, sorry.
The volunteer appreciation evening, do they need volunteers to help get it organized, or do you know?
I don't think so, but if you wish to and want to, certainly that is an option for you. Brent is not here this evening. He's got a family commitment out of town tonight, but if there's any questions, they're basically waiting for the sweeper to come back. They'll start street sweeping and they'll and trying to keep up on patches for potholes and stuff, and they're also gonna be starting sewer flushing soon, so.
Yeah, I got some questions asked about that oil coming into South Municipal Road, that piece that's all oiled up to the,
To just pass the mayor's shop.
yeah.
Down at the visitor
If
center.
they're going to do something with that, just a lot of people are starting to complain about all the potholes.
At
you
the
know,
front
if-
part of it.
Yeah, it's not just a pothole session, it needs pretty well.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
Slows the traffic down.
yeah.
I'm not sure, Councilor Thurl, I know Brent has been talking with Sean Kovich about it, but.
Yeah.
No,
It's more of a soil cement than an oil project is what it is.
Yeah,
It was,
that's what
yeah.
it is, yeah,
that was an experimental
yeah,
trial project that, it's weird, part of it held up quite well and just that entrance hasn't, so.
no, yeah, it's like that with most of that stuff.
Yeah,
deteriorates.
so I'm not sure, I haven't talked to Brent about it, I know he's been talking with Sean Kovich from Special Areas about
Oh,
options
okay.
on it, so.
No, I was just supposed to ask.
Okay,
The water hiccups, I know, not that they have anything to do with public works, but the water treatment plant, the first one was a lapse in a relay that had failed, so that's why we were without water. That'd be 2 weeks ago now,
I think it was the Good Friday.
Good Friday, yeah. And the one here on Sunday is the same thing, just a lapse in a pump taking over, picking up on demand, so. I know Garth's got a guy coming in to tighten some parameters up for water loss, so. Any questions of any of the reports? If there may be any more questions.
And I believe Lori's gonna be back to work tomorrow, so.
Okay. Motion to council accepts senior administrative reports 8.01 to 8.03 presented for information. Motion by Councilor Thurl. All in favor? Carried. 9.01 emergency management report.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. If you can see my written report, met with one of our field officers, which was good because I'd never met him before. He's relatively new. Also met with him the next day with Special Areas to go through our regional emergency plan. And we are hosting our partners, CAOs and DEMS on April 25th at the fire hall to just kind of bring the plan back out and get going through it and plan our next steps. Just it's kind of, I won't say went off the rails, but just kind of with some changes in personnel at Special Areas and that just hasn't been as high as priority for the last year. And we're now trying to get it moved back up and get going on it. I also had the opportunity to meet our other field officer at a fire chiefs meeting in Airdrie on April 14th. March 14th. Getting ahead of myself. So she seems, well versed. She comes out of the North Country and has a good disaster background. And just recently working with our ESS, our Emergency Social Services Director, on prepping for the regional ESS plan. That's one area that I think the town that will be offering a lot of help with. It's something that the special areas probably, it's the one area where they probably struggle, if anything, just because they don't have community halls very often, or able to staff community halls as evacuation centers and stuff like that. So it's been identified in our regional plan that we're looking at kind of helping out there as the primary lead on that. So Michelle's been working on, she's sitting on one of the provincial boards, and they've had some good information. She's made some really good contacts and has gotten some material to go through, and we won't have to reinvent the wheel or rewrite it all. I think we can beg, borrow, and steal most of what we need and edit it to work for us. So I'm hoping that works out good. That's all I got on emergency management. Want me to carry on, or are you gonna do them one at a time? Okay.
I was just looking for any hands, so.
Any questions on that again?
No, see, go ahead, Dave.
Development, 11 development permits. Steady, starting to get used to the new land use bylaw because of the major changes we made in formatting and everything else. It's been definitely, can't pull it out of my head. Everything I learned in the last 2 years, I gotta forget I learned and go back to the book and make sure that I'm not making a mistake. Finding little things. I'm sure that the first time we go for a revision, I'll have a list of, I gotta start writing an actual working list now of things so that we can catch anything that we missed changing last time. But for the most part, going good, expecting a real rush to start happening anytime now that the warm weather's here today, and looks like it's here to stay. I'm sure everybody's gonna be coming out of the woodwork with their projects, but already seeing guys inquiring about fences and things like that. And yeah, any questions on development?
As we indicated before, the land use bylaw is a living document, so we won't.
It is.
Anything we have to fix or tweak, we can do that.
It's definitely a living document.
Fire.
All right, as you've seen from the stats in your package, for the first time in I don't know how many years, I can say our first quarter is fairly quiet. Wow.
Did you put the kiss?
Wow, is that ever a jinx of things? Sorry, people, just give me a sec.
Nice going.
No?
Yeah, oh,
Highway 36 and Township Road 334.
Hi, Dave.
We're slower. Membership, we're at 30. Did have one applicant leave and another one, we took off our waiting list. We're lucky we're not struggling with recruitment. So we've had a waiting list of applicants. We checked one of them. And yeah, regional, been doing hazmat, pump operation courses or pump driving course. We have operations coming up. We got wildland course coming up. Training tower, burn props are ordered. Been constructed, it's sitting in Ontario. And sorry, people, but it looks like I'm the officer that is around tonight. So I must excuse myself, Mr. Mayor.
Well, let me handle the rest, Dave.
That was the end of my report. I'll move my report so he doesn't mess it up anymore.
We have any questions, you know, I can get a hold of you.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's all good.
Email me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can stick around for at least another hour and a half. I'd like you to complete.
Is that why you had to call, Gary?
Yeah.
Gary called, they called in to make sure it worked, so.
Is this a false alarm?
No, it's a Gary call.
They get
Any
quite a-
questions
They get
on-
quite a few, actually. It's kind of surprising how many, calls, illegitimate calls they get. It's kind of sad, actually, that, you know. Like, I guess the question about that is, do people just call them unknowingly, or are they calls that don't need an action at that time? Like, how do you, I'm having trouble understanding.
So some of it is, basically, 911 over subscribing, I guess would be the proper terminology.
Yeah.
So they'll activate ambulance, EMS and police all, and then cipher it out after that. If I'm correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong. but
sometimes, yeah, I think we're getting better
Wait.
at narrowing
The scope,
those scope down of when our guys should be called out, especially on the medical assist side.
Right.
But we do get, as you can see, there was 5 false alarms.
Yeah.
Some of those false alarms are basically
security systems.
security system or somebody cooking. Somebody cooking, their alarm goes off and they don't know how to shut it off and turn it off, so automatically the company that's there calls the fire department and, sometimes before they get off and get going, they've been able to figure it out and the
Well-
homeowners talk to the,
And the strange part about
Them
it,
and
they
not-
call the fire department before they call the property owner.
Yeah,
When we had that one the same day as the fire, my shop was on fire allegedly. And it was a false on mine, but same thing, the fire department got the call before I got the call, and I was standing in the shop and it was a false alarm, so. It'd be nice of them to call the landowner first, but in hindsight, the quicker the fire department is there, the better off, right? So.
Plus they're kind of limited.
and then some municipalities have, put in their bylaw, false alarm, the charge for false alarm. We haven't primarily because it doesn't necessarily tend to be the same call from the same house that's always the false alarm we're going to. And you don't want to, at the end of the day, you never want to penalize someone for, it's better to be safe than sorry to make a call, so. But there is definitely calls, whether they're false alarms or they get stood down, en route, that does happen, so.
Didn't see the medical aid on there, Kim, was it? The medical assist,
Yeah, there's
5
5.
of them, yeah.
okay, so, oh yeah, there it is.
5 of the 9 in town are medical
Yeah.
assists, so.
Sorry about that. Which for a quarter is really good.
Yeah, well, as Dave said, and you just never know on the call, 17 is a low, like they've been averaging 150 a year, so. That's, looking at 35 to 40 a quarter, so they're down, the first quarter definitely, so. Part of it probably has to do with, mild winter, roads generally in good shape, no, many motor vehicle collisions, but,
Yeah.
if things stay dry, could be faced with, grass fires, a significant number of them, but we'll see.
Any other questions? We need to do a motion for each one, Kim.
Yes, please.
Okay, motion for Dave's report on development. Council Bowden, all in favor?
Did we do the emergency management?
I'm getting there next, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Emergency management, Council Warwick, all in favor? And last but not least, fire. Council Olson, all in favor, carried. Municipal enforcement, Ms. Tracy.
Hello. First quarter report, January to March, been a very, very busy time, although, stats are fairly low and slow. Some regular snow removal contracts conducted for our vacant abandoned properties in town. That continued through the winter months and snowfall. Some people who unfortunately chose not to respond to phone calls and efforts put forward to reach them and make the request to do the work themselves. So those services were also contracted out. A lot of time spent finishing up training that I couldn't complete because of my broken leg, my injury. So that is all taken care of. It is done. I've met with stakeholders, including agriculture fieldmen, special areas too, to work with their concerns and anything that may spill over across the border, boundary lines. Submission of the authorized employer package went in, that is completed. Met with the RCMP to discuss improved service delivery and see how we can work together and complement each other and take some of the municipal bylaw workload off of them, to free them up to deal with policing matters. Had a good discussion there. Set up the rescue, so after hours, if the RCMP do run into a situation where there is an animal control issue,
That's wonderful. Very happy.
I spent some time doing that. We had a situation that essentially we didn't plan for. There were some dogs located. So far, there's been 3 dogs that have been taken in, and we've assisted the special areas because they've come out of the special areas. And 2 dogs spent the night in cells. And so the next work day, I made sure that the RCMP had access to the building, had the rescue policy in place, and I'm currently developing intake and release forms so that they have paperwork and paper trail, so we know what's going on and who's coming in and out and who I need to reach out to at the next business day. And that was just to basically assist the special areas, because they are very similar to us. We don't have a municipal shelter, they don't have a shelter. Just to point out, Counselor Olson, the additional training on February 20th, 2024. When I completed that additional training was actually included in the total cost. But it is additional in the sense of it's not something that the provincial CPOIP offers. They offer the very basic, and then they leave it up to the municipality or the employer to pursue different areas. So this wasn't an additional cost to the town. I just had to take it at a later date, which is why on the certification, you'll see different dates. But there was no extra expense to the town. It was included in the beginning there. Pretty much majority of my kit that I have. Couple other purchases that were involved, that were budgeted. And then basically, I just wanted to readdress the draft submission of the animal control bylaw with the urban hen portion. The first one that went in was the Word document that I thought we were going to edit, so I apologize for that. This one was a PDF draft. So if there is anything, questions, concerns, omissions, additions, anything you want to see moving forward, and if you are prepared and ready to engage with the public and get feedback.
Do you have a scanner for microchips? As get the animals that are found, can you scan and find out who they are?
The vet clinic will have one, which is typically something.
But they're only open Monday through Friday, right? So
They are, I believe the rescue might have one, including that type of thing in a bylaw like this would be like all encompassing. It wouldn't mean that we would immediately have to have that.
Right.
It is.
Cause you have to have access to the records as well, wouldn't you? I mean, just scan it alone wouldn't tell you.
Yeah, so the pet owner is responsible for updating the microchip information once it's implanted. So, which currently I just had my dog microchipped and I have to add my name and my phone number. So that is on me.
So
If
that-
the information
the
doesn't
reader
come
actually
back.
does that, it just doesn't identify it as
Yeah.
1122.
No, the
Okay.
reader will give you a phone number and a name.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I always thought it just identified
So,
it as an inmate number.
I don't believe that the Harvest Sky Rescue has one,
You might not have one.
so.
And I don't entirely know how much they are. I know that there's a large majority of them. And I could inquire with the vet clinic and see if this is something that they could consider assisting us with, or I don't believe it's a large expense though. Pretty small.
Thank you.
Cool.
I have a question regarding the hen situation. It makes reference to the vet clinic. And I was just wondering if they had any feedback regarding urban hens.
I haven't approached the vet clinic about that just yet, so that would be something that, would come from this question. Vet clinics are always involved in, like, the local vet clinic's always involved in an animal control bylaw, because we do have to have some form of animal health, access, which we already have in our current bylaw.
That was my concern
Yeah.
is what their feedback was on having it and, yeah, I would think that would have been done before they even put down as a reference.
It's not so much a reference as it is a requirement that we have access to a
But whether it
veterinarian.
could be Hannah, maybe, so do they have to address it? Like, do they have to, or if they refuse, would then Drumheller be the next go-to, should there be issues, or,
Refuse as, sorry, in context, refuse
don't want to deal with it, or?
the
I don't,
bylaw.
no, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. It would be done at a cost
We would be a
service,
customer.
so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't
but
see
whether or
them
not-
turning that away, so.
Well, I guess if it's business or something, but maybe they're not into hands and,
I don't know what their position is on that. I do know we have to have a veterinarian in our bylaw, which is in our current bylaw as well. So it's just a local veterinarian if we run into a problem, but I can certainly ask.
yeah, that just, if they have feedback on it, would be kind of nice to know.
If you have like specific questions that you want me to ask them.
No, just any feedback on what their thoughts are about having an urban hen, bylaw and having to be involved with that.
Tracy, there is, on the urban chicken scheme we passed in the Alberta government, one of the questions, they do, point out there is there a local veterinarian who can provide support to treat poultry? Cause not all vets,
Not all.
Not all can do
can
it.
deal.
I mean, they can contain them probably for a period of time, but not all of them can treat them if there was some kind of health related issue to an urban hen. So,
These animals are also the property of the, like their property, right? So any kind of, vet bills associated or care for these hens is on the owner. It's not on the town. If we run into an emergency type situation where there's like a neglect case or then it would be paid service to the veterinarian, and they are skilled people that know how to deal with an emergency situation, and then we would likely defer to some other avenue that they recommended.
Chicken expert.
Yeah,
cause I guess that's my other question is, does Harvest Sky Rescue, would they have a capacity to, you know, if you picked up a hen on Friday night, would they have a caging unit to?
I would
You know,
not be
contain
removing hens from the property. That would be a call to the Alberta SPCA, and they would have to do a neglect investigation, and that would be turned over to the property.
I'm just thinking,
Yeah.
not
You're thinking
even,
a loose,
I'm thinking a loose hen.
Oh.
You know, I'm just thinking,
Well, I'm
you know,
certainly not gonna be chasing a chicken. That's what you're asking.
I'm thinking it'll probably be a lot like the cats in town. If there's a cat somewhere, somebody's
Yeah.
gonna take a picture. And within minutes, they know whose cat it is, whose dog it is. Excuse me, we have a chicken. Well, it looks like Kyle's chicken.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the potential for any animal
To
on a
escape.
property to escape, right? And it is a matter of the owner being responsible. The rescue only takes in cats. And we have 2 emergency cages for dogs in adverse situations, but would I ever take them into the rescue? Absolutely not. Would I take them into my vehicle? No.
and also the other thing, disposal, if you have mortalities, is there, you know,
It's a paid veterinary service.
just looking.
So again,
Take it to the colonel.
If that's what is required, that could be something that could be set up externally, but we would have to look into proper disposal, which is something that I could discuss with the vet clinic as well.
And I also have, are they susceptible to bird flu?
I know nothing about chickens.
With chickens,
I'm sorry.
yeah, they,
There are birds,
Definitely.
you know, when we have lots of birds around the area and that sort of thing, it's, you know, I think right now that, I thought I heard that bird flu did cross into
I think we just have to be aware that any living thing is able to be exposed to any kind of virus or illness. If we have chickens in the surrounding communities,
Yeah.
that we're just as risk, just as
But
at
in
risk.
in a municipality, I think it's a little bit more concentrated than if you're in that acreage area that's outside of the municipality. May,
Perhaps if every household had their max amount of,
yeah,
chickens.
no, but I mean, as
Right.
far as the population, I think we're all at risk if there is some sort of spread or whatever's wrong with.
not familiar with any of that, sorry. That would, I don't know.
It's
Or we
awesome
could
work on
ask-
this, Tracy. I love this
It's-
conversation.
I wish I could answer that, but I am not a doctor and I don't know
And
anything
I
about the
should've
bird
checked-
flu.
Well, I should have checked it myself, but it just sort of came to me.
Yeah.
But if you look, this is
They're
nothing,
reasonable.
That's,
this is nothing new. I mean, there's communities all over that have had this for a long time. There's never been any
Yeah.
sweeping chicken flu going through.
No, but bird flu that may affect chickens.
Well,
Yeah, and the
bird
fact
flu
that
was
it's.
here
been
last
around.
spring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it would
They-
be
there was
in
an-
any fowl
Yeah.
that is
We're
wild
allowed to
or
let your cat
domestic,
touch birds. You
so.
have to be very careful with any dead birds.
well, the owls that I recovered from the West Cemetery, I mean, that's what happened to little George, he had burnt face, so.
So I guess the question for council is the draft in a state where you're prepared for it to go out to the public for feedback?
Oh,
Think so?
some great.
Well, I know that it's the whole animal control piece is separate, but, or a specific component of it, but, I think the major focus, if we went out to the public, would be on the urban hen portion. There's not a lot of significant changes to the other animal control portion. It's just, as you said before, updated and new terminology and brought in to meet current legislation, but, the urban hen is totally new component of it, so.
got one question there, that sort of got me puzzled is, why are we charging $50 per chicken, you know, more than what we're charging for a dog or anything else? Is on,
The fee schedule can be open for discussion.
yeah, that's what I was wondering, you know, all of a sudden, well, like, we're started off at $50.
I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong.
Or is
Tracy, I
that
think that's an
average?
amount that was in the, bylaw that we used as our template.
Mhm.
Oh,
I
okay.
looked to similar communities in size, and their geographical location, just what would be similar to the town of Hannah and what the going rate is for current fees. With fines, associated, that is a cost recovery for whatever we spend to have to bring this in, right? Obviously enforcement is expensive, passing new laws is expensive, bringing in something new like this is gonna add additional cost and we can continue to spend, and then we have people who are non-compliant who continue to be non-compliant because there's no accountability and they're refusing to cooperate through a verbal warning.
No, that's.
So
just
that's
what-
certainly something that's, amenable and adjustable.
Yeah.
If council wishes to,
No, I
forward
just
that.
wondered, because I looked, holy smokes, I gotta get big chickens to pay for that. thing.
Yeah, no, it's just
A
something
lot
that
of
is
eggs
very,
to put that in.
yeah. It's the standard amount that
Yeah.
the province,
Oh, okay.
many municipalities have gone within the province,
Yeah.
so.
The Valley Vet website verifies that they do dogs, cats, rabbits, hamsters, guinea pigs, and birds. But they do not mention chickens, so
I would say majority of our rural vets would probably
Absolutely.
be
be
okay with the
well
bird.
versed with chickens.
Yeah. I think so.
I know in
Yeah.
Colleen's former job, she dealt with chickens, I don't know about that.
Okay, so, perfect, thank you.
So, yeah, if council's
Yeah,
on board with it going out to the public, we'd like to set up some public engagement, get the bylaw out there, get people able to provide their feedback, positive or negative, answer any questions they might have, prior to bringing it back here for, first reading, so. And certainly one of the options could be, we could give it first reading and then have some public engagement after that. We don't have to give it second and third reading immediately, but I just think that based on the nature of it, and Councilor Olson will disagree with me, but based on the nature of it, I think you need some public
No,
engagement,
no,
so,
absolutely, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of eyes on it.
yeah.
Get everybody ordering their chickens.
Yeah,
I know I'm not the only one in town, but I'm fostering animals for a family member. I've never really paid attention to that. I guess I have to get the foster licensed while she's living here.
We don't have such a thing as a foster license.
No, but
You could get it licensed.
Because you are a resident.
Yeah.
And they're living in your home for an extended period of time, and you are a resident here, you are able to license them if you want. The idea behind licensing throughout the province is that even if an animal lives in another location, that municipality that they are a permanent resident at has to be licensed in that community. We then take that license, we contact that community, and that's how all communities support each other. So we're not saying, oh, well, people have to travel who work away and out of town, they've got to buy a dog license in every community that they're
Right.
working in. It becomes an astronomical cost, and it also becomes a burden to the municipality on the administrative side of things, right? So that dog tag is really essential for getting an animal home, no matter where it's licensed in. Because a lot of municipalities are actually really current, and you can go right online on their websites and you can punch in a dog tag and it'll pop up information if consent is given, and it's just a matter of consent.
Right.
Being provided, so
thank you.
that expense shouldn't necessarily be on you, as long as they're licensed in their home community and they're wearing their tag, we can get them home just the same.
Perfect, thank you.
So are we looking to give this first reading to get it to public?
Not to, that wasn't the plan
Okay,
tonight.
so I'm just.
I just wanted to make sure that council we went through it quickly at the info session. But again, you didn't have an opportunity to have it in advance and do a lot of reading on it. I just want to make sure that council was comfortable with it going out in the condition it is. That doesn't mean that it can't be changed or amended, but as long as they're comfortable with us
Starting points.
starting that out and getting some public feedback on it.
Just a point of reference, so, I guess depending whether we do first reading or not, if in fact, first reading is put on the table and, it's unanimously declined, would we move forward on going to, out to the public? Then if in the end, the council in its, in the whole is going to not be in favor of voting?
So if prior to any public engagement, if we brought it to council for first reading and council defeated first reading, it wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So that could be the
This is a
next,
huge expense if we're going to public before,
so that
we
could
had
be the
the-
option. We could
you
go.
know, the voice of the
We could
council.
go to the May, a very good point, we could go to the May council meeting and give it first reading. And if it passes first reading of council, then we could start the public engagement process. Yeah, no,
And I would
that's
like to
probably,
say that I speak corporately, but I should speak as an individual, will probably, be the voice of my public on the greater public on how they feel, because I'm not really even sure where I sit with all of this. So that's the other avenue too, is how do I really feel, with voting in favor of this, although I'm concerned about the dollars that we're gonna put forward to go to the public prior to thinking that maybe the corporate council would decide that they don't want to vote in favor of this either.
yeah, no, that's a good point, Councilor Warwick, we can certainly do that. And if it is defeated by council, that first reading, then we don't carry forward. If it is approved by council or passed it, the first reading is passed, then we can move forward. And again, I don't see a great expense for the public engagement process. The expense would probably be more time resource than cash resource, but yeah, that's a good point. If we've been kind of working under the, I guess, assumption consensus wise that it looked like council wanted to move it forward, but first reading would definitely give us indication for sure one way or the other.
On Councilor Throws, now what were the fees before for spayed and non-spayed animals? Like I see, it,
For
they went
licensing?
30, yeah, they went 30 and 100.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
change all
Okay.
the scheduled fees. The only reason why I put it in, as it is right now is because our animal control bylaw is 30 years old.
Yeah.
So these fees match current across the province, with multiple municipalities, and they are actually on the lower end of some of them.
Yeah.
So the fees are not something that you need to decide on immediately, and if you decide that you don't want to increase fees, or you want to do a moderate or slight increase, then we can change all
What are
of
they
that.
currently like 15 and?
To license a dog is 15 that has been neutered or
Neutered or
spayed,
spayed.
15 and
25 for intact,
Okay.
yeah.
And we probably are in the low end.
Definitely.
We're
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
extremely.
Especially for intact, it's fine to
Yeah.
move that up.
That should be $1,000. Sorry. If you're not gonna get your animal fixed, you
That's
gotta
a
pay
big
for all the
problem with
puppies.
Well, we registered.
A lot of the animal control issues
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, or they just don't
why
license
Yeah, I
them.
know.
There's incentive to a license that is $15 for a fixed animal versus $100 for a not, like, for an intact animal. However, that doesn't mean that people will
Yeah.
You're
remain
responsible.
compliant.
You know what, that, all that does is target the individuals that are responsible. We have breeders that don't, you know, that does not target, those people that are irresponsible, you're not gonna get that $1,000 anyway.
Exactly,
wouldn't
and
get-
that's exactly what I
You're gonna
meant.
get your 30 from.
Their breeders are different. They're considered a kennel license and
Yeah.
it's an actual licensed business. And that animal would be exempt from any licensing to promote the business. To do that, but it's certainly not focusing on.
And you
breeders.
you're not required to have a license till they're, I believe, 6
6
months
months
old.
old,
So
yeah.
most
So
people who do have puppies are trying to sell them or get them out and within that time period, so.
And the spirit behind, of course, spaying and neutering is something we're probably all likely aware of. It's to control the unwanted pet population that is homeless and suffering, right?
Bob Barker's been telling us since we were little,
Right.
and I paid attention.
Just looking at your statistics, 20 animal complaints in January, that's high, isn't it?
What page is that on?
That's right.
The old
Yeah.
69. Okay.
Okay, so if you head over to the right, 19 DL, I made myself a little note there. That's dog license.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay,
So-
that's what that,
Yeah,
I was wondering.
I made myself a little note there, but,
I
so
just
there was
thought,
one
how do you
animal
go from
complaint.
20 to 0 to 3.
It's dog licensing. It's people who haven't renewed their dog licenses. So I drafted a letter. Those letters have not gone out yet. I'm gonna recheck them. And I'm probably gonna do some in-person door knocking, introduce myself. Because some of these licenses, when you approach it as a very compassionate, sensitive side of things, maybe the animal has passed away,
Which
died,
is my case.
been put
Yeah.
down. And I have been on the receiving end of a notice for a license for my dog that has passed, and it's not fun. So I mean, I always go over there, introduce myself, ask them, and then at least have the opportunity to say, I apologize, we're trying to clear up our records and that kind of thing.
Oh, thanks.
And congratulations on passing all your courses.
Thank you.
I know it was
A wild.
a wild event.
Tracy, I just had a question on that. I have this question directly from some of our community members. When we have burnt property, derelict property housing, how long do we allow those properties to go without any cleanup, without any restoration? They cause a liability on, and now that we're talking about pets, this is the other realm, is, you know, we have pets going into some of these properties, cats and what have you, and it's causing problems. So, yeah, there's my question.
Very fair question. I'm definitely gonna delegate the answer to this over to Kim, the CAO. There's a lot of money involved in cleaning up these
Yes.
projects and responsibility and ownerships. I can stick to a tight deadline, but then that means that I have to hire the contractor and the town takes on the entire expense of that cleanup. So I will
Yeah, no, I know the particular case you're talking about. Certainly, we gave them some time. We did talk to them early on in the process. We did give them some time when it was winter and stuff, but now we're past that season and we expect that there's gonna be some, the last conversation we had with the owners, they were considering rebuilding. And we can't tell them whether they can rebuild or not rebuild. That's their choice. We indicated to them that if they were going to rebuild on that property or renovate that property, rebuild from that existing structure, that they would have to have it inspected by a safety codes officer, prior to us issuing them a development permit to do that, because we're not experts on whether it can be rebuilt or not rebuilt, and again, it's private property, so they make that decision how they feel best for them, but at the end of the day, as Tracy indicated, if we serve an order to clean and they don't follow through on the order, then we will be obligated to follow through on the order at our cost. If we follow through on the order at our cost, certainly we will invoice those costs back to the owner. But in a lot of cases, if they don't have the dollars to pay the invoice, we put it on the taxes and they just let it go to tax recovery, and it's not a good system by any means, and we get caught in that regard in terms of paying the cost of those delinquent owners.
Is, I'm sorry.
Counselor Bowden?
Is there a requirement to have it fenced to keep people and animals out of there? I know it was fenced at one time, but that fence is.
Well, it was fenced by the
Insurance.
insurance company. But, and it was fenced initially because there was a fatality and it was under investigation, so now there's not, obviously it should be secure that people aren't in the building. I'm not sure about animals, but I believe it's secure from people.
No.
And we've been talking with the owner in terms of making sure there's not people in there.
I believe I walked by that the other day and there's, one of the boards covering the window is not there anymore. Or
Okay,
it's halfway off, so that is a concern.
so we can follow up with them on that.
And to keep maybe some of the homeless people out of it, if they are using it or anything, but just for their own safety, right? And I think that should be a condition, is just to have it fenced so that people don't have access to it. If we have an open hole, like as the Seymour was at the time and stuff, it had to be fenced. And that was the town's responsibility.
Well, it's a liability issue.
And who's gonna be liable for it if somebody gets hurt? The property owner?
Yes,
But as a municipality, should we not be taking some ownership in pursuing that and requesting that it be fenced to keep?
It has been pursued. It's been pursued at great length. I have issued multiple orders over the last
But
little
when
bit.
does that come to an end where something actually gets done?
It's a matter of an appeal process, and the property owner has full rights to this, and it comes back on their decision, where if I move forward with an order and they come to that property and they stand there and they tell me to stop, then we need to move with an emergency order with the court of provincial King's Bench.
Mhm.
And then that involves our lawyer and significant more cost to the community. And this could turn into a large amount of money. The intention is to try and get these people to clean up as much as possible, so it doesn't come back and fall on our expense through either legal fees or through cleanup contractor fees. Even quotes were actually sent out to local contractors for cleanup last year after the first fire. So there's been extensive work done to try and resolve this. At the end of the day, it's not a perfect system, and it's very lengthy and drawn out, and the property owner still has full right to say, stop, get off my property, then we have to move to the legal side of things.
Yeah, and then I guess, hope that somebody doesn't get hurt in the process by trespassing, basically.
And that would be an RCMP matter. It would be,
But if
Break and
safety
enter
thing
is
is what
still
my
break and enter,
concern
right?
is, right, is
yeah.
safety versus
But ultimately, the property owner is liable for anything that occurs on their property.
And anyone who unlawfully enters a building that is not theirs is. a
And then,
criminal
like,
matter,
you know,
right?
the
That
other
needs to be
avenue is the
reported.
unsightly, like,
Yeah.
as the property owners around there, they're tired of it.
The
They're
unsightly is what
tired
I've
of
been
looking at it, and honestly,
Yeah.
I would be too, and I don't even, I mean, I don't live there, just driving by, I'm tired of seeing it. You know, so I think there's three aspects of it that, you know, are pressing for us.
What is
There's the safety, the animals that are going there, I know the rescue cats, I know people that have gotten the rescue cats that were living from that property finally. And, you know, then the unsightly property, so. I don't know
Unsightly
how
is
long.
actually the orders that have been issued repeatedly, yeah.
So we will definitely, we did, again, trying to be cognizant of costs. We've given them probably more leeway than we need to. And now that winter is, I think, done, we could certainly we will be much more aggressive on the cleanup of the yard at minimum and the security of the building. I don't know, again, if we get into the costs of removing the building, knocking it down, it's probably gonna end up on our dime. And so we're trying to avoid that as much as we can, because we won't recoup that money.
Well, we already owned it once, didn't we?
No,
Almost, we almost owned it, almost.
no, the taxes have always been paid. It was an issue where it went into bankruptcy. And there was a fight between the bankruptcy owner and the owner, and I'm not sure how it all transpired. We were very confident when the first fire happened that it was in the name of the bank.
The bank, yeah.
And the bank, all of a sudden, after that, started sending their letters and their notices to the owner that they did not take title to the property, so it is still in the owner's name. So it wasn't ever the town's, but there was a fight between bankruptcy and the owner. And still surprised to today that I still think that if the owner would have pursued it and went to court, it should have been in the bank's name, and bank should have been responsible for it, because they did in the bankruptcy notice indicate that that was their property, but they never took title to the property, and so in land title's name, it's still in the original owner's name.
And once a property owner returns to that property and says it is their property, it is now their property and everything comes to a halt.
And if I was the
And I
owner,
start
I would have
all
at that point in time
Yeah.
never taken it on, never moved forward, but the owner did, so,
And is that an absentee owner?
yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
So that's the other thing.
former resident,
Yeah, but
former
again,
resident,
we're
but
dealing with absentee owners down Main Street.
yeah,
And we're dealing with the fallout from it. And
100%, they're our biggest
there should be
challenge.
something to deal with that, or, yeah, it's just bad all the way around.
But we will be, certainly now that the weather's cleared up and the snow's gone, we can certainly, put
Yeah.
more emphasis and be more aggressive on the yard cleanup and security of the building.
Any more questions? Motion accepts Hamilton Municipal Enforcement 2024 first quarter from January to March 2024 for information. Motion Council Olson, all in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Do we like constable or?
No.
Tracy's good.
Or it's Rachel?
No, definitely not. It's just like in a meeting like this.
Yeah.
Just Tracy, I'm perfectly happy with
If
that.
you
That's
wanted
how
to
I
be
see everybody
more
else.
formal, it would probably be officer Rickles,
Yeah.
not
So-
constable or.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, no, no.
Sergeant.
Sergeant.
I forget her lieutenant stripes.
Yeah. The formal designation or the formal title after the peace officer appointment would be community peace officer label.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Or CPO, but you can say officer,
Okay.
peace officer, There's
Tracy.
different variations. I prefer
Tracy.
Tracy.
Yeah.
That's how I talk to people anyways, yeah, so.
Okay, moving on to community service department fees and charges.
So, Mr. Mayor, Counselor Thorough, can help me here if I stumble. But Community Services Board met on March 25th to review fees and charges for facilities, programs and services for the 24 calendar year. Ultimately, they make recommendations to council. Council will be the one that would ratify the decisions. So there were some changes, and just want to go through them. Certainly, if council wishes to make amendments to them, that's their opportunity. But basically, swimming pool, everything will remain at 23 levels for lessons. 30-minute private lessons increased $2.50 to $85, and 60-minute lessons increased $1 from $154 to $155. Seal Swim Club increased $400 from $5,000 to $5,400. Arena, lots of changes, most of them on the advertising side, but there were some changes. So minor hockey, figure skating, regular rate increased $10 an hour from 90 to 100. Off hours increased $10 an hour from 75 to 85. Adults increased $10 from 140 to 150 an hour. Tournaments increased $5 an hour from 120 to 125. And ladies drop in last year, they had proposed, or we had come to council with a $10 drop-in fee. Council waived the fee this year. What Community Services Board has recommended is $1,000 for the season. So they would collect that as they collected it. It certainly would they probably have enough, I'm gonna say 15 times they go out, so
We figured it's about $65 a week.
yeah. So certainly less than what the men would pay to go out for their Sunday night, for example.
So just out of curiosity, sorry, Mr.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, then this year with the drop-in fees that they were paying, did it exceed that?
No, so council did the drop-in fee from $10 a person to free for this past ice hockey season. So there was no collection of any money for ladies drop-in hockey this year.
I think we're gonna have trouble getting that.
1,000?
That's for a whole
It's
year.
not very much in the
I know-
scheme of things.
I know that.
Yeah.
I know that.
But even at free, they weren't utilizing the ice.
Yes.
Well, they were
They're
up to
part of it.
15 ladies
Last
for some
2
nights.
weeks. Last-
No, it's very hit and
It
miss.
is very thin.
But they were up to 14, 15 for a while, for a few weeks, but at the end, like I know the town team played them in a fun game at the end of the season, and they had 7 or 8 leagues, so.
That's
And
one.
so the time that they are scheduled, would there be another group that would use that time, or that's a time that basically nobody really utilizes, or?
It's a quiet time generally. Minor hockey, if they had access to it, may use it and maybe try and get 2 games in an afternoon instead of 1 potentially, but it's just before public skating, so. So it traditionally has been a quieter time that the ladies have used. That's not to say minor hockey could use it.
But there's some flexibility there too. If they needed to use it, they could possibly
Yes.
use it, right? The ladies are not that staunch.
Right.
That,
Yeah.
you know what, there is some flexibility there. I'm just concerned that, we may not have any at all just based on the fee. And I would rather see some than none.
I think we gave them their free shot to get it started. The $10 drop in is probably appropriate to keep the momentum going at that point. And that wouldn't scare anybody away. And you break it down, $1,000 a season. It's very little when you break it down, but have people only show up once a month. You
Yeah.
don't want to turn them away.
No,
They're not gonna kick in the same, to have them $10.
that's what we looked at. It was, do one fee and,
But who's gonna come up with that? Which lady is gonna stick their neck out and say, oh, at
Well,
the beginning of the
but-
year, I'm gonna pay that $1,000.
No, we wouldn't,
No.
they wouldn't pay it, necessarily have to pay at the beginning of the year, but we would have a representative from ladies hockey, which I know last year was Ashley Grantham.
Yes.
And Ashley would basically be would be the one that would be responsible for collecting the fees. However they collect it, whether they
Yeah.
collect it internally, $10 a person. And if they did collect it $10 a person, they would probably exceed their $1,000. But again, it puts the onus on somebody to collect it from their organization and, or,
No different than minor hockey does.
Yeah.
yeah.
And isn't that kind of a bit of a commitment then too, that, you know, if you gotta pay or if you gotta pay in advance or whatever, however they set it up. But I think, yeah, not very often, I think 1 year of having a freebie.
Yeah, no, so that certainly certainly could be amended if council wish to, as we move forward. The rest of the costs, the arena booth, they increased, booth rental, so that's minor hockey, from $485 to $500 a month. And then the rest are advertising, small increases on the wall signs of $25, center ice logo of $50, blue line, which we haven't had any advertisers of $50. All of the advertising on the ice we haven't had except for the center ice. And the ice resurfacer from $2,200 to $2,300, so. So that's kind of the arena highlights. Do you have a question, Councilor Pearl?
Do we have a problem or do we have a challenge trying to get people to advertise? If not, are we being challenged with it?
Well, our center ice, we've had advertising sponsored by Heartland for 3 or 4 years, 5
I was gonna
years.
say 5.
So they haven't had any issue with that.
Okay,
And our ice resurfacer has always had an advertiser. And those are our two big ticket ones.
perfect.
Yeah, and the wall signs are fairly active too.
Yeah, yeah. We don't have many, we've lost the board signs. So we don't have many on the actual boards anymore. And I don't know if that's cost related or just business related. Some of them that we had came through to us through a bulk buying group, for example, so they would get contracts to put in advertising for Alberta Health Services or Tim Hortons or Blue Cross or whoever, so then they would reach out to the municipalities and put signs in. We haven't had some of those for a while, but we did have, I think, Blue Cross and Tim Hortons through Rec Media for a few years. But so we haven't had any of those bulk buys lately, so. Curling rink, no changes. Ball diamonds, they recommended a change to the adult teams for up $50 a season from $450 to $500. Minor soccer, no changes. Campground, increased the tent rate from $20 to $25 a night. And we do have, last year, if you recall, when we did our power upgrade, we were able to run water to some of the sites. So now we have power and water sites. Before we had power at full service. So with power and water, we're suggesting $35 a night and full service increased $4 from 36 to 40.
My mother and father-in-law figure we're nuts. We should be 55 or 60 bucks.
Oh,
That's my mother and father-in-law
Where they
saying.
live,
Oakland.
we're not.
I think that's a little rich for.
I'm not arguing.
us,
Yeah.
But they travel all over the place.
Yeah, and this is pretty cheap
It's very
It's-
cheap.
It's fantastically cheap
because
compared to other places.
when you take a look at Perio, we're in line with them and
Well, and I know,
So,
Paradise RV, and I think, the Canalta were 40.
Yeah.
So, and we're in line with them, so.
We're comparing to campsites. Like, we're not comparable to Prairie Oasis. We don't
No, I
offer
wasn't
fire
comparing,
pits.
I said
I heard somebody
Paradise.
say Prairie Oasis. We
Yeah.
don't offer trees. We don't offer a fire pit, like,
oh, you got trees out there.
trees with fire pits.
There's fire
Fire
pits.
pits.
out at the campsite,
Yeah.
I think.
There's fire pits. out there.
Fire
Looks like
pits
it's
out-
awesome. Yeah, it's really
Oh, I
nice.
thought you were talking about.
Yeah, they
I
got
thought
the
this
one
was,
popper
like-
there 6
I
miles
thought
away.
this was at the Ball Diamonds, like after
No.
camping
No,
out.
no,
Diamonds.
No, this is Fox Lake.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
Awesome.
You lost me here.
Having said that, I had somebody, approach me today about allowing camping and stuff at like the Blue Diamonds and at the arena for whatever event it is, whether it's. And
Yep.
That's what I thought we were talking
Is that
about,
now?
sorry.
are they charged?
No.
Well, yeah, we do offer that, so, you know, part of that, a lot of times when, some of them leave, there's a bit of cleanup involved with that.
Not generally from the ones that primarily off the top of my head that use our arena would be the Jamboree,
Swim
would be
club.
the swim club, would be the gun club.
With the
And
rodeo.
Radio.
rodeo, not so much for camping. We
No.
definitely have issues.
Trailers and
We
stuff,
definitely
yeah.
do have issues with rodeo horses and
Oh, that's
cleanup of
fertilizer for
horses,
the
but
trees.
the camping per se, we don't allow them to plug into any of our
No.
facilities. So we have basically allowed them to do that. They're renting the facility, so. We haven't had any cleanup that I'm aware of for our normal campers that are staying there. Definitely with horses at the rodeo, we have challenges, yeah.
The organization that usually puts it on, sort of man's out afterwards, we do
we end
clean up on our, like the Jamboree weekend.
And the
We do a
rodeo.
walkabout and make sure that if there's anything that we clean that
And
up.
if we had any issues, for example, if the Jamboree used it and left it a mess afterwards, we certainly would be discussing that with the Bravo Center, whoever's running that event, if there was significant issues.
But that space is still available for others to use, is it not? Like if there's an event in the other, in the tournament or something, if something's going on at the arena, I'm sorry, at the, community center. There's still, are they consuming the whole parking area or there's still?
It depends on the event. Depends on the event. The swim club doesn't use a ton. Then they're there basically Friday night, Saturday, they're gone. Jamboree would be our biggest use of camping. And they do use a significant portion of, that's why we try not to book other
Other shows.
events. And I know the one
Yeah.
year we had
The gun show.
gun show and was Smazel. But, when the Jamboree's there, they use a significant part, but we do restrict some of it so that the people primarily that are using the pool and Centennial Place do have a parking area
Our numbers were way down last year. We had not near as
on
many.
campers, yeah.
No, we didn't take up near the space,
Yeah.
so. And we're seeing.
And I know what this year that's happening there is the hospital reunion or whatever you want to call it. And they've called to say, are we okay with having people camp in the parking lot? And we said, yes. They booked the community center for their reunion event, so.
That is what fair and then they're driving if they happen to be at an event as well, so.
Lots of weddings.
Yeah.
The downfall, the disadvantage is when you allow it, it does take away from private, well, our campground, but other private campground sites in town, but we haven't had any complaints from any of our campground holders that we need to stop that, so.
Yeah, I think they're pretty busy all summer. The private ones are pretty busy.
Well, I think most of the campground owners or operators, understand the benefit of having the event and having the people in the community, so it might not necessarily be at their campground, but they're spending money in the community, so.
It's an attraction, I have to say, and I'm only involved with one organization, but it is an attraction for them to come
Brings a
here.
lot of people from out of town.
And they all ask.
Well,
It's that
and it's
demographic.
it's convenient,
Mhm.
and B, it's cost effective for them if they're coming to the Jamboree and they're gonna be here for 4 nights or whatever. If you're in a campground, that's $160 to $200, so that might be something that would deter them from coming to the event,
It will
so.
for sure.
Yeah, I just thought I'd
Yep.
bring it forward and.
So community center, a couple of minor changes, the full facility from $655 to $680. And the wedding weekend package from $1,250 to $1,300. Service clubs who have a monthly meeting increased from $340 to $350. And the new commercial kitchen is a new rate, from $25 to $35 a day. They can rent the kitchen, but under this rate, they can be bumped from the facility upon 48 hours. Lions Hall, no changes. Centennial Place, ton of changes. Field House, the drop-in youth, $3 to $4, adults, 6 to 8. Field House, 5 to 6 for seniors. Fitness Center, 12 to 15. Then again, vice versa, the punch cards for all of those went up accordingly. That gives you 12 visits for the price of 10. So there's a bit of a discount with a punch card. The annual pass, for youth, $20 a year increase. Bronze, 30. So there was some $25 to $30 increases on annual passes.
So what is a bronze versus a silver versus a gold versus platinum?
It's the access you have to the building. So bronze is limited access during the hours of operation. Silver gives you a little extra time at the end of the day, I believe it may be in the morning. And then, gold is full use. Your card will work at 2 in the morning. And platinum is basically, we throw in the swimming pool pass. So you can go to the Centennial Place, have gold access there, and you also have a pass at the swimming pool.
Is that, you know,
So lots of changes there. I don't think we've changed the annual passes for a number of years.
No,
Well, I have a question.
Councilwoman?
Is there any, information as far as how price increases relate to the number of, say, youth attending? I guess that would be one of my concerns is that, you know, basically most of them would be attending during the winter, correct? Otherwise, they'd be outside or something. But if we're looking at an increase in the youth, say, for example, and, typically that kind of keeps them out of trouble if they're busy doing something. Is it having a negative impact on the numbers that are actually going?
It could, we don't have,
Yeah, well, that's
because
what
we
I
haven't
mean.
increased it, so we don't know what that.
Yeah, or even from previous,
Could be.
as far as numbers and that sort of thing, I guess.
I know we increased it, last year, I believe, from 2 to 3. And I don't think we saw any in attendance, or I never heard any feedback from anybody that, you know, the difference from 2 to 3 meant that they didn't go.
Mhm.
I can't speak to whether the 3 to 4 would make any difference either. Potentially it could.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out, you know, how it really impacts those that are attending and maybe, yeah. Maybe kind of good to follow.
Yeah, I just don't have any
No.
evidence one way or the other.
What's, like the revenue, what's it look like?
this,
Centennial Place?
this is where we had a couple of the ladies that sat on this community service board. They look at all the numbers. They're knowledgeable with the numbers of what the expenses are. They look at our finances and looked at it. And, you know, everything's increasing, so it's not because we can't. They didn't wanna raise it, but like they said, if you don't start raising, you know, stuff to help pay for the building,
Expenses.
the expenses are just going to eat you alive. You know, we just can't.
No, my concern was mostly the youth, that
It's,
if that, you know, it's only $1 or so, but
Yeah,
if that
totally.
has a negative impact where they're not coming.
But ultimately, that community center costs you X amount of dollars, whether there's
Right.
one person
Yeah.
in there or there's 50.
Right.
And I would just as soon have 50 as one.
Exactly.
I guess Counselor Crowell had asked about, revenue, so.
Yeah.
In the budget overview, is probably the best example, so we budgeted in 2024 that it would cost $214,000, and we were budgeting to bring in $90,000. So there's a loss of
$20,000.
$120,000 on that facility annually, whether we increase rates.
increase it or not. You know, this way they look at it too, you know, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be tax wise, or, you know, we gotta look at it one way or the other. It-
Is there some way I can maybe promote, sponsorship or something?
Well, we do have,
Well, yeah.
we do have $20,000 a year in sponsorship on
Yeah.
the building, so. That is part of that $90,000 revenue generation, so.
There was a lot of sponsorship that went into it at the very beginning.
Well, when it was built, there was a lot of,
Yeah.
a lot of sponsorship, and a lot of that money went into capital to build it, so. So where was I at? Just a couple miscellaneous folding chair rentals from $1.50 to $2, picnic tables from 6 to 8. And delivered picnic tables from $15 a table to $20 a table, so. Those are the highlight of the changes. Certainly, if council wishes to, amend any of those rates, it's their opportunity. And I would, ask that if they want to amend, that we go down that road.
Council Olson, sorry.
So I appreciate the work that Police Service Board did on this. And we look, everything on the budget was based on old rates. I'm not interested in increasing rates. The only ones I'm comfortable with is the arena advertising. I'm bumping those up a little bit. I would like to see nothing else change from last year. I think we will chase people away just for those couple dollars. It looks terrible. Everybody's been saying since day one here in 2017, when I sat on council first, you need to start increasing taxes and increasing this and that. And we've generating the exact same amount of revenue for 6 years. And it's been fine. So I don't buy into that. And logically it makes sense, but in practice, it hasn't been an issue. So I'd like to change nothing aside from those arena advertising fees. Because they're small changes, that's good. And of course, the camping with the new rate, make that as 30 and then the full service to 40. I don't feel we need to be the same as Prairie Oasis. Which are the 35 and 40 we have suggested to match up. Then the ladies drop-in fee of $10 instead of $1,000 fee. That would be
Your amendment.
my amendments.
So just to,
Change nothing, increase arena advertising to the suggested. Camping new rate of power water of 30 and full service to 40. And the ladies drop-in fee of $10 instead of $1,000 season.
I have a comment. So
Councilwoman.
last year, you requested that no increases for the hockey. And so then that would mean no increases for hockey for 2 years consecutively, right? Correct?
no, last year, we increased, minor hockey, I think.
I don't
It was
remember.
minor, it was $5, I think. They had recommended 15 and it was 5.
Yeah, it was very little.
We amended it to 5, so there was an increase to our major users, which is minor hockey and figure skating, and a small increase to the adults. But when no charge, that was the ladies. But we did make those small increases. We did make some increases to the Centennial Place daily admissions last year. I know that the council lowered some of those increases at Centennial Place and the arena, but I don't think they said no increase at all.
Yeah, we went up 4% last year from 7.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
Yeah, it was a little.
Yeah.
And,
I'll let discussion happen before I make a motion for it.
Well, or what about half of what is being proposed?
Yeah, I just don't want it to change, especially Centennial Place. That's the one. Arena gets used. And I don't want to take advantage of the fact that it's a used building means we gotta generate more revenue. We've set a budget to count on the numbers we have and accept operating at a loss of these buildings, as we all know will happen.
Well, in minor hockey from when we moved here is less than half of kids playing hockey. Whether that's from fees or there's a number of things. Hockey is a very expensive sport to play.
Yeah, I know that one.
They're all, anything's expensive, gas is expensive, holy cow, had no idea.
I do.
This year, well, you would, yeah, but I mean, this year, all of the costumes and stuff that come through our shop, like, I'm just going, holy cow, like, that's insane. I'd support Counselor Olson's, recommendations. Counselor Murphy?
My comment on it I am concerned it's between 10 and 25% increases. That's a,
Where? East? 8%.
Even though like it's $1, but
Yeah.
that's,
no, but
that's a significant
Yeah.
percentage.
you know, when
right?
you're
That's what we can
talking,
afford.
yeah, this is 10%, that one's 10%, but $2 from 6 to 8, that's not 10%.
That's 25.
That's 25%, so I wasn't incorrect with that, darling, okay. That's a lot of money. We all got slammed with that carbon tax. And you go to the gas station, you can't even put gas in your car, and now you can't even go to Centennial these prices are gonna be,
So Councilor
I'm
Murphy,
worried.
I'm not debating those costs, but I know when people say that they were hit by the carbon tax.
so are we,
You have
yes,
to remember the
Yeah.
town of Hannah as a corporation is hit by the carbon tax as well.
absolutely. But when we did our budget
Yeah.
at the beginning of the year, we had these numbers in, and the magic of our CAO, who was fabulous, made it work. And it was pretty good.
We generally do a lot
Yeah.
of those fees for those facilities we do on averages, so.
Yeah.
Cause they can fluctuate from year to year, so
Yeah.
again, these changes, if they're implemented as is, are not going to make or break our budget.
No.
The
I'm
the only thing
worried,
is sometimes you don't wanna get too far behind,
no, I know,
because then when you do have to make an
It's a
adjustment,
big
it's
adjustment.
seen as a
Yeah.
large one. So sometimes few smaller ones is better, but we did at the field houses or at the Centennial Places, Councilor Olson pointed out, we did make some increases last year, so it's not like we've
Yeah.
not made any increases in that area. So whatever council is comfortable with is what we'll move forward with. So if that's making some amendments to the recommendation, that's certainly fine.
Couple things to add to Counselor Olson's, I think the rent on the kitchen. I have no problem increasing that one. The wedding rentals, increasing that to 1,300, I don't see that being able to lunch either.
just getting people out to do healthy, we always want to promote healthy living. And then we're saying, but I know the costs are going up. We have to try and find a balance so that it can still be affordable for our seniors whose income did not go up at all. I mean, just awful. So they have that much less, and if they're actually using these facilities, boy, that's
No,
a
I don't.
big jump.
I don't disagree, Councilor Murphy, it's trying to find that fine balance.
Yeah.
And it's even trying to find that fine balance from the taxpayers who don't use any of the facilities and think we should be charging more and
For the
generating
users.
more use because they don't use that facility. Even though you don't use the facility, it still is an asset to the community in terms of bringing people in, keeping people here and the whole quality of life. But sometimes people get focused on the fact that the arena costs us this much money and I don't use it. I don't like that.
No, I know. Mhm.
And, but those recreation facilities are not gonna be user pay.
Just curious, then the gap, that I heard between what we take in and what it costs to run that. Is it about the same with all of our facilities or?
Well, all of our rec facilities are subsidized.
That's
Some
right.
of them are a little different cost recovery than others, just based on operational costs of the plant, for example.
It just seems like that's a big stretch for that facility. Like it's a huge amount in comparison. Am I wrong or? I
No,
don't
the
know
one
if
that always
that's
put
what
into perspective was the library, right?
Yeah.
The smaller footprint, smaller building, it runs a loss of $100,000.
Yeah.
So compare that to the arena
I guess
of
that's,
1
I don't think there's one that's significantly different. Even when you look at some of the outdoor facilities, we look at baseball diamonds, we budget $35,000, we bring in 5 or 6. You know, so it's percentage wise, it's probably fairly similar throughout. I would say Centennial Place probably has a higher recovery cost than the arena, the pool.
Community center.
Community center would probably be closer, but yeah, there's no necessarily rhyme or reason, but, it wouldn't be more subsidized than another facility.
Counselor Murphy?
Sorry. Have we considered a sliding scale? A lot of municipalities do that now. When you've got a family and you got little kids and you want to bring them all to the pool and have a sliding
But we have
scale.
a family rate, which is significantly less than if you were bringing 2 kids and 2 adults, the family rate is significantly less.
Yes. But it is an option that we could look at for struggling families, that they could have a lesser rate based on their income.
But the whole thing is how do you, police,
No, I like
You're
the
line
idea.
150 on your tax.
No, I like
on your
your
notice
idea.
position.
Walk into 3 kids, everything's cheaper. I like that idea.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
You're right, Councilor Murphy, we don't have a sliding fee or an affordable fee policy.
Our
Because again,
lodge
that
has
brings us,
it.
that brings in a more administration in terms of then having to have them come in with their assessment notice, giving them a card or a coupon or a target that then they can go in and get a reduced rate. But it certainly is an option. It's not one we've explored basically just on the administration side of it.
On that note, though, I guess a good solution would be advertising kids sport more.
I was gonna
I mean,
say.
that already has.
Kids Sport
People
and Community Youth Fund.
Yeah.
SCSS.
And they both help support that. So if you have children like that, that is a great organization.
Just the availability of those applications would be helpful, I think, for some of these
Yeah.
too.
Just that we can do an increase and feel good about it if we can help the ones who are really struggling to get there.
But then you're penalizing those that are actually doing successful as
No.
having to pay more for, it's.
Someone who's poor is not necessarily unsuccessful. I can attest to that.
Lower. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so those 2 programs are available. Again, they don't necessarily help the adult, but they do help the children if they make their application through there. And there is, as you said, they use the line 150 of their tax assessment to be able to say whether they qualify for Kids Sport or Community Youth Fund.
Hey, Counselor Olson, would you like to make a motion?
I would,
Thank you.
and it'll be terribly worded. Let's make a motion to accept the community center increases, the arena increases, a camping new rate of $30 for power and water, full service to 40, and the ladies ice rental drop-in fee of $10
From 1,000.
instead of the $1,000.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
That wasn't so bad, was it, Counselor?
He always likes to do that.
So this commercial kitchen.
He just brings forward what we think.
Costs $35 a night for kitchen for the day.
Yeah, we put it we had some local, business owners or home-based business owners that were trying to, be able to sell their products, primarily when the Prairie Wallflower was here, because to have your products sold, they have to be cooked in a commercial kitchen. You can't cook them at home. So we put that rate in and we put it in, with the caveat that if you could be bumped, if somebody comes along and says, I need that for a funeral, you can't always count on that price. So it is lower, but it was trying to encourage some more home-based, locally made products that could be sold.
They can sell at the Harvest Sky, at Friesen Brothers. You can't do that unless it's made in a commercial kitchen, so it's really helped.
Even farmers.
I do have a concern with the 48 hours. I mean, if I was to rent that kitchen and I was going to have it on Thursday to prepare for a big family event on, Saturday or Sunday, and you came to me within 48 hours and said, I'm sorry, when I've already organized it, I don't know if that's fair. I don't
Well,
know
the
if
rate
it's-
certainly is fair.
Well, the rate is, yeah.
That's why you.
That's not
that's
an
why you-
argument.
No, but that's why you
The
get that
timeline's
rate.
An argument,
That's why you get that rate.
and you take a chance.
You take a chance.
Or you book it for the day.
Or you book it for the day, and I think you can book the kitchen for a day regularly, not getting bumped, is 125.
I don't
Yeah,
know
if
if
it's-
this
you have to
service
have
is, I don't know if it's a fair service to add with that caveat in there, just saying.
It's more the convenient division I saw was the convenience of somebody needs to do it. They got a couple days window they can do it in. If it's something you have to have it that day, then it should be worth a normal rental.
Otherwise, yeah.
The only way it would be bumped out would be for a funeral.
Well, or generally it's for a funeral. If anything's on a short notice, it's generally a funeral. It's not an event or a wedding or anything, but it's generally a funeral that will be there, so.
I'm just looking at food purchases, cause I know, like, of course, this last week we had to hire some caterers to do some stuff, and they're already purchasing stuff now. Because of the prices of product. So, and it's not happening till later next week. So if you're purchasing food, a significant amount of time in advance to target this one particular day, and then within 48 hours, which your food purchases are happening long before the 48 hours, but within 48 hours, you can bump them. I just don't feel like that's fair.
But then you end up, booking the kitchen for
25
$125.
If it's that
And they can't
critical, you
book
book
it,
the kitchen for your
yeah.
125.
for your
If
full
it's that
rate.
risky for you.
Or go to Legion.
Otherwise.
Or go to the Legion, yeah.
Or can we use the fire hall or one of those kitchens?
The Lions.
It's not much.
Okay, so we beat that up. We've got the motions passed, so let's move on.
We actually didn't beat it up. We got clarity.
Yeah.
What about, curling rink in the arena? Are those kitchens?
They're not mentioned. To that extent, really.
They probably,
They're commercial
they
kitchens.
probably are, but we generally haven't had them used. I don't know if
The
they,
arena is a
Arena
nice
has
one
a-
to prepare food.
I don't think it has an oven.
No,
No,
Just a grill.
just a grill, I think. Yes.
And the one in the curling rink is even older and smaller.
Yeah.
Whether it meets Alberta Health, I'm sure it does, because they
They cook it.
serve food out of there and it's inspected
It's inspected
Annually.
regularly, yeah.
to be able to do that, so.
Okay, 9.06, Salem Community Center surplus fabric chairs. Mr. Nell,
So, Mr. Mayor, as you know, in the 2024 budget, there was money to purchase new vinyl chairs, for the community center to replace the fabric chairs that weren't necessarily good to purchase for that facility, just in terms of dirt and stains and stuff and keeping them clean. So we have purchased the new chairs. They are here. There was about 210 fabric chairs. I did ask, Kevin to reach out to the Legion to see if they would have any interest in them. They immediately looked at them, had interest in them. And they did make us an offer of $10 a chair. But I did want to leave the room for council with some options if they chose to. So the options that you have before you, I think you could accept the offer to purchase from the Legion in the amount of $10 a chair. You could donate the chairs to the Legion at no cost. You could direct us to advertise the chairs for sale through a sealed bid process. I have no idea what they would be worth, whether we would get more than 10 or not. I have no idea. Or you could direct us to keep the chairs in storage as surplus. We don't think we need them in surplus. So I just wanted to give you the option. Certainly the Legion stepped forward and they did offer $10 a chair. But if council wished to that option is always there to donate them if they so chose.
Okay,
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we donate them to the Legion. I think the Legion provides a service and, they're a nonprofit that is, we utilize it on a public, avenue for Remembrance Day and things of that nature. And is that amount gonna be, make or break? I think it'd be a good gesture.
Plus the chairs were donated to the community center for them
In the first place,
in the first place.
By the Elks?
Yes.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Councillor Bowden, that they should be donated to the Legion.
okay,
I like their offer, $10 per chair. They offered it. They offered it. It's not gonna make or break them if they're going to make the purchase.
Well, we don't know that, but then,
well, they offered $10,
I
so
don't
I
think
mean,
they're that
obviously. they're
full
comfortable paying.
because they offered to buy chairs.
It
But
does cost
I
to-
do believe you do have the motion on the.
Yes, we're having a conversation.
and it does cost, you have to bring them in that sort of thing, so.
Mhm.
I think if
Okay,
we were doing-
So the motion on the table is to don't, or on the floor is to donate the chairs to the Legion. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Carried.
You didn't want it all.
No, I did.
Oh,
I didn't have both my hands swinging in the air.
Council special meeting,
So, Mr. Mayor, we had originally had planned to have the 2023 financial audit, presented to council this evening, as well as the acceptance of the financial statements, but the accountants weren't quite finished with them in time to meet that deadline. We do have a, requirement that they are, prepared and approved prior to May 1st, so we thought we already have a council meeting scheduled for April 24th, that we would call a special council meeting at 8:30 that morning for the purpose of approving the 2023 audited financial statements.
discussion.
Financial statements first thing in the morning.
Is it better than last thing at night?
It's all bad.
So what is the delay? Like,
I just think,
is this something, like, have you ever had to delay it before?
we haven't before. I think this year, I think they have some new staff ascend this year, and I know when we did our audit, three of the four individuals who did the audit were new. So it takes a little more time for them to, you know, when we had Mr. Fopple did it for years, he remembered exactly last year what he did and how he did this and what was there. So I think just them educating themselves on town and what's happened. So,
You're gonna have to be done.
yeah, and I just think they ran out of time to get them done for that meeting.
Okay, so can we get a motion to have a special meeting on the 24th of April, 8:30 AM in the council chambers? Councilor Thorold, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Council reports.
Yeah, Mr. Hutton.
Mr. Hutton, sorry, but I didn't have him on the computer, so. Mr. Hutton's letter. Has everybody had a chance to peek at it? So he's basically looking for a letter of support from the town on his development.
I don't know if it would be specific to his development, specific to any lakeshore development on Wilkes Lake. So he's the only one that I'm aware of that's prospectively considering it, but,
Of course, I have a comment.
Councilor Bowden,
We haven't had an opportunity to hear from the people living in the area as far as that goes. The fact that it's not within our region.
Well-
Not under-
No, it's not under our jurisdiction, it's under special areas jurisdiction as far as the development of the land. And, the town is the water license holder, but anything that would be developed on that property would have to go through special areas and meet their land use order and deal with that. So we don't have a ton of authority on this decision. I think he's just looking for support that would keep him moving forward with his initiative. I do know, just from personal experience, I do know that the majority of the neighbors in the area
You know,
would not support it. That doesn't mean it's the wrong decision. It's just that they would not support it. I don't know, I know Mr. Hutton did go to the special areas land use order meeting and made comments in regards to development around there that encouraging them to look at different development levels and size of the parcels and different things that would better accommodate that. I don't know where that's at with special areas, so.
I think personally, I'd like to see more support from that community, before I support it as far as a council, my council. The community,
What do you mean by?
like, I mean, within special areas, like the people surrounding, Fox Lake. You know, they wanna expand Fox Lake itself, you know, as far as the campground and that sort of thing.
But
It's gonna be,
Mr. Hutton owns this one.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
and it's gonna be at his own expense, right?
Yeah.
For sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because there's already cabins on the other side, right?
Well, there are two cabins on the east. I think they're a little bit different than what Mr. Hutton envisions. I think he envisions, especially on the water side, that they're going to be much closer to the water.
and
That basically you could have a pier and drive your boat up and get onto your property. The cottages that are there now are quite removed from the lake shore.
See, Mr. Scott has a cabin there on his property.
Yeah, but it's for private use, is it not, or how commercial?
But I don't think that matters.
no,
That, like, it doesn't matter whether it's private use or not, and I'm not aware of where Mr. Scott's cabin is or how it fits into the.
But ultimately,
jurisdiction. Ultimately, that's special areas jurisdiction of whether to approve it or
I mean, if
not.
Mr. Hutton put two cabins up and sold them, it's private use.
But in order to put up those two cabins, he'd have to have permission from
Correct.
special areas.
I don't know that we wanna stick our finger in
Yeah.
that water.
Well,
No.
that's my concern too, is that's a special area.
Yeah, we have, this seems
We
really
have-
misleading to tell him.
we have an
support it,
amazing-
do nothing.
Rapport with special areas, I don't think that's something that we want to.
We're just looking at kind of.
Who did we ultimately need permission from? Special areas?
Special areas land, but
Yeah.
like, we have no authority,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah, so he
nothing.
needs special areas permission before he can do any development. Other than, is it farmland now, or what is it, grassland? What is
Yeah,
it?
it'd be farmland.
it's farmland.
So before he does a commercial development on it, he needs the permission from special areas.
Yeah, they'd have to go through their development permit process and meet the requirements of their development permit based on size of lots and whether it's septic tank, septic field, all of those different things would be in their land use order.
So this has nothing to do with that spreadsheet, because it's.
No, I think he's just, I think, and it's hard for me to speak for Mr. Hutton, I think where he's coming from is he's felt some opposition to the project from the neighbors. And I think I think he's felt some hesitancy from special areas on what he wants to do there. And I think he's just looking for someone to say, yeah, we like the idea. I think it's good. You know, I told him from day one that if special areas did not want to allow that type of development on that land, we would not fight special areas on his behalf to say, no, it's really important to the town, it's critical to the town, you need to make it happen. So I did put some options there. One of the options is to basically say that you're not prepared to provide a letter of support at this time.
I find the wording that he used, that he wants the town to take a leadership position. Nope, not at all. This is a private deal. He doesn't live here. He's doing all this from his home 9 hours away, 16 hours away, whatever, so no, I'm not interested in doing that. I wish him well, but I'm not stepping on special areas toes.
And we see
Personal.
nothing on his plan.
Nope.
And
Okay, well, so we don't have to do anything with this then?
Well,
We need to send a letter back to
I
him, saying
think
we
at this
don't.
point in time, if council made a motion that at this point in time, they're not prepared to provide a letter of support for the project.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's, you need more information or what rationale, but I think we should let him know one way or the other, otherwise he's going to be asking for a letter at the next meeting or the next meeting and the next meeting, so if we're not prepared
Okay,
to.
so can we get a motion then to send Mr. Hutton a letter stating that we're not prepared to write a letter of support for his project
At this time.
at this time?
Yeah.
Counselor Olson, all in favor? Opposed? You have to vote.
Yep.
Okay. Carried.
if it was special area center to us, I don't think we want to support it. I think that would be end of the story for the.
Yeah, no, fair comment.
Bylaws, nothing. Council reports, round table. Councilor Kroll. Councilor Bowden, Councilor Warwick,
Just to make mention, that PEP will be hosting, their meeting here next, Tuesday, April 16th at the fire hall. So that starts at 10 a.m. And, we'll also have a Mayors and Reeves, meeting right after that at 1 p.m.,
After lunch.
right after lunch, yeah.
And you have that in your calendar, Mr.
I
Mayor?
do, speech written,
Okay, good.
Councilor Olson,
The only things I had a Palliser board meeting, the meeting to set new safety codes contractor. So no more Superior, it's Park Enterprise. You see what part of that evaluation came?
No, actually, David was,
Okay.
David sat in on the RFP process with Palliser representatives, so.
So it's a 3-year contract. I don't know if much will change for operations, really just different place for safety codes and inspectors out of there. The golf course board meeting, we've got an AGM, April 17th, I think. Don't quote me on that, I'll have to look it up. And on a side note, we like all the use of all facilities. The tennis courts, pickleball courts have been used almost every day in the last weeks with cricket out there.
Oh, wow.
There's a group of 6 or 7 out there playing.
cricket, yeah, I had to stop
Yeah.
last night and watch for a few minutes
On the
Yeah.
tennis courts.
on the
Yep.
tennis
That's
court.
awesome. That's awesome.
So what will they do? Pickleball?
Oh, it's gonna be a royal. rumble.
Gloves off.
Okay, I hadn't
Yeah.
heard about the cricket players.
No,
Yeah,
I
I've seen
drove
there's
past
several-
last night and went, what the heck, and then I figured out what they were doing.
Yeah, yeah, just different use of the facility.
So what, how do they, like, I don't understand the rules. of
I don't
cricket,
either,
but
but
how do they use that space?
Well, basically, they're using it as an infield,
Yeah.
and using the fences instead of having, like an actual outfield. They're using the fences to contain the ball, so they're
Yeah.
still, they're pitching to the, and I'm gonna call it batter, cause I don't know
Yeah.
what it's called.
That's,
But yeah, they're pitching to him and he's hitting the ball
Okay.
and, yeah. Like I
Because I
said,
know
I
if
physically stopped and watched it last night because I couldn't figure what they were doing.
It'll soon be that we'll put the tennis nets up. And then that might stop.
No, I think they could probably go, because the tennis nets run, east and west, right?
yeah.
They can
Yeah.
run north and south with what I've seen yesterday, they can use one at one side or the other, right?
Because if there is a group that is playing that sport, I'd like to see them be able to continue. And I was just thinking in my head whether the,
Curling rink,
well, the outdoor rink.
outdoor rink.
What would be an option for them to.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a very, very good on thing to mention, so, yeah.
As people move from other
Yeah.
countries
Yeah,
where
it
cricket
is.
is so popular, I think it's
100%.
wonderful. Yeah.
Like I said, I had to stop.
I like watching it.
And I thought cricket was more of an outdoor.
Like massive
It is.
stadium.
On grass, so I wonder whether they'd be able to move into one of our ball diamonds
Or even the soccer.
and
But
play
see,
cricket.
It seems to me like what I've watched on TV, it's similar to a baseball game, but
It's with a bat.
Maybe it's just because, you know, grass is still wet or.
Yeah, I'm
fields
sure
are
they'll
too
prefer
muddy.
native
Yeah,
space.
could be.
Okay, I hadn't seen that, so.
Yeah.
That's
Council
very
Roden, or Council Murphy?
I will be attending the Alberta Health Meeting on the 11th. I have 3 meetings in Strathmore for Marigold. I've got Acadia Foundation stuff coming up, and next Tuesday, 2:00 is our Hannah Municipal Library Open House. I'd love to see at least to pop by and say hello to our board members. We've worked very hard to clean up the mess. And we have an incredible group now. The board is just running amazing. It's just wonderful, and I'd love for people to come by and say hello. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Thurl?
There's one thing out of our community service board meeting that was talked about is, they'd like to put a washer and dryer out at,
Oh, yeah.
Fox
Fox
Lake.
Lake Campground.
yeah, they've already talked to Kevin and looked at a building to,
Great idea.
because it'll probably only
The long term.
long-term people.
Gary's shaking his head no.
Who knows that they're on
After the
on
15th,
line
it'll be
to-
good.
looking the lines.
Okay, I had a meeting with Westmet. They're looking at coming and presenting to us on an information session. As to what they're doing and the new product that they're starting to make. So I invited them to put a proposal together for that. And I don't know if I covered last time, if I did, the new proposed dam site at west of Delburn. Provincial government coughed up $1 million for this year and $4 million for next year. So what we thought when we started talking about this 2 years ago as being a pipe dream is starting to grow a little bit of fruition. So the neatest part of it is talking to the various stakeholders. And you know, originally I thought the dam would be better suited to be closer to the Saskatchewan border, but having talked to some of the people that are a lot smarter than I am when it comes to the further upstream we can have it, the better control we have of the water. So it looks like it's gonna come to fruition. It's still probably a 20-year project, but it's something that's definitely growing some momentum, which was clearly encouraging.
So is that water, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't understand exactly what the Red Deer River makes its way through, so would that be considered downstream of Dixon or still upstream?
That is considered
Upstream
downstream.
of Dixon.
How's that special? art?
There's actually, if you want, there's a really neat app on, well, the App Store. Alberta Rivers, and you can actually click on the different rivers that you want to follow the flow. And then you can get into the reservoir storage and get into snowpack. And it's kind of over my head a little bit, but as I've talked to some of the guys that understand a little better, it shows you hourly flow rates in the Red Deer River, so meters per cubic second, so. And that's all I've got going on. So if we can get a motion to accept council reports for information, Councilor Bowden, all in favor? And carried. Correspondence,
Not much in correspondence, I don't know if there's anything that's
earth shattering.
earth shattering for us. I'm not aware of too much about the letter we got from Stetler. It sounds like they operate their own
Mhm.
ambulance service, and obviously they're in contract negotiations with AHS, and maybe it's not going as smoothly as they want, so they did send a letter out to partners in the area I don't think they're asking us for anything at this point in time. I think they're just making us aware of the negotiations they're going through and some of the challenges they're having with their negotiations with AHS, so.
Anything else anyone wants to discuss? Hearing none, can we get a motion to accept correspondence for information? Council Murphy, all in favor? And carried. All right, closed session.
We need a motion to go ahead.
Motion to go into closed session. Council Warwick's got her hand up. All in favor? Carried. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight again.